I want to say that Apple is becoming visibly more open, I guess, compared to Jobs' time. Just to name a few, the acquisition of Beats, the partnership with IBM, or the share buybacks and dividends, where you're being more vocal or open with media. And I would guess none of these would be Mr. Jobs' piece of cake. Are you tweaking Apple's culture?
Well, I think it's hard to tell what Steve would have done, right? And
he asked you not to.
And he asked me not to, and I have honored his request. But I think you do have to realize that Steve, more than anybody I've ever known, had the ability to change his mind and change it quickly. This was an incredible characteristic of him. You know, most people, most humans get kind of stuck. They make a decision and they find it very hard to move off of their point of view. He could move like this. And it was an incredible characteristic of him that I always looked up to and think it's a key behind Apple's success. And so I think it's even hard for, I don't even ask, but I think it's hard for anybody to look at a situation and say whether he would have, wouldn't have done.
Do you still think of him?
I think of him every day. I think of him every day, yes, of course. He was a dear friend. I mean, a lot of people look at him as an inventor and an innovator, and you know, in many different ways. I look at him more importantly as a dear friend, and in the world you don't have a lot of friends.
I noticed.
You have a few very deep ones, and he was one of my very deep ones. And
I've read about this story that you even offered to donate your liver as, or part of your liver as the transplant.
Well, we were friends, and that's the way I viewed that offer. Was you know, I was. One evening I left his home and I was very distraught because I could see him not doing well, and he was waiting for a donor, and I wasn't sure it was going to happen, and he had mentioned that he had a rare blood type, and so I did some investigation and found out that if you have the same blood type, that the liver has the capability to regenerate. And so if you slice a piece of it off, my liver would have grown back, I would have been fine. I was convinced of that. And so I did make that offer, and he refused, which I think says a lot about him. You know, he cared more about not taking a risk with my health than he cared about his own life. And I think that says an enormous amount about him.
It's great to know the details of the story. And then I know that you still keep his office in the Infinite Loop, which is your Campus 1, and you're building this new one, the spaceship, the Campus 2, right, which is expected to be built next year. And then are you still keeping one room for Mr. Jobs?
I will always keep that office. Yeah, that office will never go away. It just wouldn't feel right. And so, yes, we always keep it, and we keep it like it was when he left it.
And the headline news also goes that you come here to plant trees. And how are those environmental projects going?
Our whole objective is to get to a net zero impact, meaning that if we use any paper, we want it coming out of a managed forest, so you're protected, the natural forests are protected. And this is something that, this is the largest project we've ever done. And, but this is another one of our pillars of our environmental strategy, one of which is running our company on 100% renewable energy, and then net zero in terms of virgin paper use.
Again, that's great social responsibility, but then I also saw some solar related projects. Is that something you're looking at in terms of business as well?
Our latest step in doing that is to put a 40 megawatt solar facility in China, in the Sichuan province. And what this will do is it will power all of our stores, all of our headquarters and all of our offices throughout the entire mainland China.
So speaking of Apple, the company is the largest company in the world by market cap. But look at the tech space now. I think with Microsoft recently launching the HoloLens that wowed the street, and also Tesla's battery project. So people are wondering, when are we going to see the next wow product from Apple?
Well, you know, I'm wearing it. I'm wearing it. It's here. We just shipped the watch 2 weeks ago. And so we've just launched an entirely new category.
Yes, I get that, but it's still paired to an Apple and linked with the entire touch screen digital hub. But when are people going to see the next thing? Is it on the track of the much rumored Apple car, or the Titan project, or it's AI, artificial intelligence, or it's drones, or people are guessing, or maybe it's something totally out of people's imagination, but it's on your shelf, that you have a 5 or 10-year plan?
We are always very secretive about our 5-year and 10-year and 15-year plan. But you can always count on great things from us. We're always focusing on not doing a ton of projects, but picking ones where we can make the most impact.
Stay focused.
And we stay very focused, and so we have just a few products, but we go very deep in them.
So for your China strategy, I'm just wondering how much sales does China account for in terms of your global sales?
It's about a little over 20% for Greater China. And it's a hugely important part of our company from all aspects. From the sales, but also from the supply side. You know, we've now created over 3 million jobs in China, and about half of those are manufacturing, but half of those are in application development.
Do you see competition locally? There are more than 200 mobile companies in China. A lot of them are smaller than Apple, obviously, right now, but
I see competition everywhere. You know, we have always had a lot of competition in every market that we've been in. You know, in the early days, and this is still the case today, in the PC market, where the Macintosh competes, we compete against a huge company called Microsoft, right. And you know that has a very large market position.
Is lower cost products your strategy for emerging markets like China, or not necessarily?
No, our strategy is always to make the best product. And so if we're making a smartphone, we want to make the best one. And so that's the #1 priority for us, is quality. It is not to make the most. Sometimes those two things intersect. Sometimes things come together, and making the highest quality can also mean making the most. But whenever we have to choose, there is no choice for us. It's always quality. And we never forget that.